So before I start, I just want to share that I've always believed God has a sense of humor. And after preparing this message, I believe that now more than ever. And by the end of the message, I think you'll agree with me. Hi, I'm Nancy Dietrich, and I'm part of the teaching team at Sycamore Creek Church. And we're in a series on the deeply formed life. And today's segment is all about contemplative rhythms. Have you ever heard the expression, God moves in mysterious ways? To be honest, most of the time, I'm just too busy to pay attention. I don't have time to really think about it. You see, I've got stuff to do all the time. I have a family. I work. I volunteer. I'm a caregiver for my mother. I provide emotional support to my family and friends. I have so much stuff to do that I become good at filling up every minute of my day. Now, once in a while, I squeeze in time to deliver messages at church on topics like how we tend to speed through life and don't take the time to reflect and deepen our relationship with God. Are you beginning to see a problem here? If you listen carefully, you'll hear God giggling in the background. Can you hear that? What exactly was Pastor Tom thinking when he approached me back in October to give this particular message? But hey, I'm a team player, and I'm always glad to help out. I looked at my calendar and said, sure, I can do that. I'll find the time because I'm a master multitasker. I'm one of those overachieving go-to people because, I get things done. Time is of the essence, and if I'm moving fast enough, I can power through anything. I bet I'm not alone when it comes to living life at the speed of light. But how exactly do we make it all work? Well, for me, I've had lots of practice juggling all the balls, and I rely heavily on structure and routine to make the magic happen. As long as everything goes according to plan, everything works out just fine. Well, maybe not as well as I'd like to think. You see, back in October, I had no way of knowing that the nice, solid foundation of my daily rhythms and routines was about to be totally upended. Can you hear God snicker just a little bit louder? In a matter of weeks, my mother began to physically decline pretty quickly. It was getting to the point where we knew she wouldn't be able to stay at home much longer. Work was becoming more intense due to a lot of transitions. I was finding it increasingly difficult to focus on my projects. I had 2 family members who were dealing with mental health issues, and they were relying on me for emotional support. My husband, he was experiencing health issues and would soon be needing surgery. I was even struggling to keep up with my volunteer commitments at Sycamore Creek. Everything just kept piling on. I felt like I was failing at every aspect of my life. I kept thinking, if I can just hang on a little longer, maybe I can catch my breath. Maybe I can take a break. But in reality, I was in total burnout mode, and I knew I was about to hit the wall. And how did I know this? Did I mention my degree is in counseling? I actually teach college classes on stress management and the dangers of pushing oneself to the point of burnout. I teach about the importance of self-care for those in the helping professions. I hear God laughing a little louder. By the time I got to January, my mom had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital, and we knew we'd need to move her to some type of care facility. A week later, my husband had surgery for a total knee replacement. He was going to need extra care and attention through the recovery process. But hey, remember, I've got this. Now, despite everything I had to juggle, I knew I better start working on the message that Pastor Tom asked me to give. To be honest, I forgot what the topic was supposed to be. I had to ask Pastor McKell about it. Imagine my surprise when I was reminded it was about the importance of slowing down our pace and maintaining contemplative rhythms so that we can live a more deeply formed life. Okay, at this point, God is in full belly laugh saying, "Nancy, my friend, the joke's on you." Now, I don't really think God's laughing at me, but perhaps God is sitting back and watching me like I'm a toddler who had way too much sugar and won't stop moving. God is kind of like a patient parent who's thinking, just let her run in circles until she wears herself out. Then I can get to work on helping her find the path to a more deeply formed life. Now, the downside with keeping up this kind of pace is that I often miss seeing what God's up to in my life. I just don't take the time to be fully present in the moment. And God does work in mysterious ways, but what good does it do if we never take the time to notice? So here's the problem. Our souls were not created for this kind of speed. And when we try to maintain a ramped up pace, we end up being out of rhythm. We have too much to do and not enough time to do it. It drains our batteries and leaves us physically, mentally, and spiritually depleted. Now, many of us tend to push ourselves to the brink, which leads to burnout. We don't leave enough margin to actually feel we are living our lives. We simply react and quickly jump to the next task. This type of pace is debilitating. We end up worn out, but it's not the frantic pace itself that's destructive. The damage comes from what gets pushed out of our lives, especially our relationship with God. So what exactly is a contemplative rhythm? Let me explain it in musical terms. So rhythm is what gives music its structure. It's the length of each note and the pattern of these notes that create the rhythm in a piece of music. Now, another important aspect of music is tempo, which is how fast you play the notes. So think of the fastest song you've ever heard. The words move so quickly you probably can't understand what the singer is saying. One of the fastest songs I ever sang was "Get Out of Denver" by Bob Seger. The fast pace doesn't give us much time to think about what's being said. Now, think of a very slow song. The words are sung at a pace that really lets us understand and reflect on the meaning of the words. This slower pace would be considered a more contemplative rhythm. It's a structure that gives us time and space to reflect and be in the moment, as opposed to a frantic pace that has us mindlessly moving through our busy days. Now, the big question is this: are we moving at a pace that allows us to really hear and see what God's up to in our lives? Are we moving slow enough to take in the sights along the way? Or are we moving at the speed of light and missing all the good stuff? So this brings us to our first chat question. What's a fast-paced song you enjoy? And what's a slower-paced song you enjoy?